Konnichiwa, everyone. I'm Enea.
And I'm Cami.
And together we are the co-founders of Adoratorio Studio. What we want to talk today are some things we learned in our 5 years run, and hopefully try to ring a bell. Okay. For the most freelancers and studios here, current or future. The aim of this talk is not to leave you with a renewed creative approach, even though there are quite few candies down the line, and nor to motivate you and tell you are the best of the best, because I think if you are here, we are probably great or on the track to be. What we are rather to talk about is how to face and be prepared for something like hardships. Today, we'll talk some of behind the scene of the work we all do, and so let's get things rolling, shall we? First thing, assets are fundamental. A statement that, without context, is as true as empty of meaning, isn't it? The assets we'll be talking about today are the basic instruments we employ every day. Today's topic is presentation and patterns. Having a great presentation is the battering ram that will open all the doors, and if done properly, this empowers your brand presence with potential customer and separates right from the get-goes those who share or may share your vision and approach from those who simply don't. And that will be avoid hurdles along the way. What I'll be showing now is our home presentation, and it is no way a flawless and perfect example, but it worked all the way until now. And before start, what's the aim of any company presentation? And I think the aim of any company presentation is to have something readily shareable either with Trustful or Google Slide or whatever at any given moment. Yes, we say this, but at the same time, we want our potential customer to feel addressed or to feel special, right? And after our job, hopefully passion is to create unique design and experiences, isn't it? And first things is try to get personal and create a connection both in the presentation as well as the accompanying email. And we start with a strong statement. This can be your payoff or simply the name of your studio, and we prefer the payoff as otherwise writing Adoratorio 4 times. In the first slide will look a bit narcissistic. And they were assured by an Himalayan monk that reducing it to 3 is that make us look super professional. And initially we had this caption that say Adoratorio 4, and we would have the name of a partner in white to write it. But some situation like this started happening, or happening again. It's a very long client name. And we changed the client name with a new word, and this word is you. That word is because you is a very, very powerful bridge in any language. No more word representation edits after that moment, and everyone lived happily ever after. But you know, designer, just kidding, 6 months ago, we updated many things, and given its success, raised Adoratorio for You to the role of the title.
We then proceed by introducing ourselves, creatively explaining what we do. And who does this? Our team. Showing our faces from the very start is something we've done since the early beginning. We do have creatives and art directors, copywriters, 3D and 2D artists, developers, strategists. Aside from starting a conversation on a human stage, this also speaks about everything we do. I want to take a moment now and talk about something that we could call human relationships, which I think is one of the trickiest parts when running a company. In the life of Adoratorio, we had our highs and lows. We've seen many people come and others go. So I'd like to take a moment and share my 2 cents about this matter. Not everybody is a fit. A great many times is easier to have less skilled people than superstars who have difficulties in sharing your own rhythm. This is as much your fault as their. But I'm confident when I say that a cohesive team sharing the same goal is probably the best asset for success. Look for talented people, which doesn't necessarily mean they're already skilled, but that have potential. Look for people who are able to share your own rhythm, which is just a nice, less frequent term for culture. Look for people who are able to communicate and work within a team. Look for people with a flexible and adaptive mindset, as that's the only way you'll be able to overcome the challenges you'll face as a studio. Anyway, we proceed with the list of our services. Clients get in touch for whatever reason. It may be a brand, a strategy, a website. You have to be sure to explain everything that you do. The partners. Everybody has this super cocky move, but it gets the point and works pretty well. At this very moment, you've consumed the attention span of even the most interested reader, just as much as we've depleted yours. So let's get them back on board. This is our reel. No one does ever click on this, and you know that. Wow. This is a pure portfolio, but as often happens, we finish with projects because visuals impact faster than words. Once you have multiple projects, you can start rearranging them how you think will fit the customer best, or maybe simply by industry. I'd also like to touch the topic of estimates. Here are some advice. First one, add the company presentation bits at the beginning or at the end of the document, depending if you already had the opportunity to talk with the client or otherwise. Second one, explain with comprehensible words each phase of the project and how it will roll. Third one, the services. List the services you'll be providing and what are the deliverables of each service. Fourth, prepare a mood board. The mood board will help you determine what the client is leaning towards and will give them a taste of what's to be. Last and most important one, the timeline. I really can't stress this one enough. In a sense, what we sell is our time. This doesn't mean that I think you should forcefully estimate per hour, but that you have to provide a timeline and respect it. When you're working on something personal for your own company or freelancer career, you'll never get at that point when you say, okay, that's perfect. If it's design, it's never quite as striking. If it's copy, never quite as clever. But it comes a moment when you need to be done. Setting up your own deadlines and learn to respect them will help you manage better the work. If you manage this for your own company, it will be quite easier to deliver customer projects in time. Another moment will come when you'll get bored of that same presentation over and over for months. Remember this, each one of your clients, current or future, will see it just once. They won't know how old it is or how many people have seen it. So for sure, you will update it, you will add projects, and add, hopefully, more famous and important partners. Anyway, keep this in mind. If it works, don't rush it.
But you know when a company presentation don't hit base, when you're facing a demon of our industry, something that's relegated to the darkness corner of conference such Awwwards, practice that with just its name trigger nightmare and a sense of discomfort in all of us, except account, damn you account. And that's pitching. I try. Lower your hand if you are against pitching. Okay, it's work. You see, we all hate pitching. In my experience, most professionals don't like it, and a good portion directly antagonize it. Avoid pitching as skiers do with gates in a slalom race, but I know sooner or later you'll run into one, and you will do so intentionally. That's because some projects are just too juicy to skip, and I am confident when I saw that each one of the big names here down the line pitched for a project, or probably for some projects, and possibly missed a couple. Well, we are no angels ourselves, and some of those juicy projects knocked at our door too, and did we jump into van blindfolded like Luke Skywalker training to be a Jedi, with far less impressive result? And do you remember, Cami, the last February?
Yeah, I do remember perfectly. Last February, we received a really interesting mail. A creative director for a huge company producing, let's call them, facial accessories particularly suitable for US Navy pilots and brothers that like blues. The relationship went as much as follows. We replied to the mail and set up a conference call, during which our men explained us the need for some new content to implement their digital strategy. Lots of ideas sparked, so we decided to set up a meeting at their headquarters a few days later. Fast forward a couple days, massive building. We met 5 people ranging from marketers to creatives, and suddenly the scope of the project changes from some digital implementations to a renewed approach for their 2019 strategy, covering all media, all product lines, and all touch points. You might say something unclear, not to say shady, was going on. Oh yeah, and the presentation was to be held in a week. The exact day the whole studio would have been left for Amsterdam to attend the Awwwards Conference. Okay, let's catch our breath. What I suppose you're thinking now is, and that's where you stopped, right? And I'd really love to tell you that you are correct. Unfortunately, we were too blindsided by the budget, being around 60% of our yearly revenue. So, we worked day and night and produced a 76 slides presentation that covered all product lines and touch points. In a full afternoon, our PM Filippo prepared the whole speech, and we were ready to win. Before the presentation in this meeting room, 1 or 2 at a time, instead of the 5 we previously met, Almost 30 people entered the room. What we did there was more of a lesson passionately delivered, by the way, than a pitch. It was also that day we had to tackle our creative director from changing its role to mass murderer. Moral of this story, 7 days wasted and a lot of anger, but it was our fault for being so blind. So, lesson learned. Thank God, 24 hours later, we were greeted by a sight that warmed our hearts at the awards after party. There are times instead when things go the right way, such, for example, last summer when reading our contact email, we noticed an email by Netflix. At first, we thought it was spam. Yet, after a bit of research, we came to the conclusion it wasn't. Turns out a design lead at Netflix from San Francisco stumbled upon one of our projects, Il Buongiorno, one of our first sites of the day, and fell in love with it. He asked us to participate in a test to become part of the Netflix associated agencies. Again, sometimes speeches are just too juicy to be skipped. So, we took it, and we failed it. And we asked for a second chance. Thanks God, we have persuasive copywriters. And we succeeded. Bottles were popped, and monkeys delivered to our studio.
This to say that having a pitch once in a while maybe is fine, and in fact represent but a small part of our daily work, and we try to only participate to those whose clients feel share our philosophy, or to say in other words, those we don't perceive as bullshit right away. And when we are not pitching, which translates to pretty much 98% of our time, we are active on ordinary, extraordinary projects whose workflow is aided by some design and development assets and partners we create and perfected along the way. Like the personalized library full of JavaScript and Vue elements our developers created in the past 2 years, which provide the basic of our latest website, making setup process a lot really faster. I'm glad to share that this library is available for free on Adorotorio's GitHub, with repositories ranging from dynamic custom pointer, scroll management, loader, all the way to the audio player and menu. This same pattern approach is also employed by the design team, allowing for continuous contamination and exchange of information between the two. The use of this pattern allows us to spend almost half of project time on coming up with new creative and technological solutions, which are then implemented in the partners I mentioned previously, which save time in the following project, allowing us to experiment again things that are then implemented in the patterns. I think you get it here. This doesn't mean copy and pasting complete elements, but rather setting the ground for many of the elements of a new production. So these stories are taken from our last 5 years, and if I were to sum the key of this journey, I'd say be honest, believe, deliver, and if you are pitching, hopefully get paid.
Thank you.
Thank you.